Hey, what's up? What's up? What's going on? Let's Talk Nation. I am your troublemaker, Dr. Polite, here by myself this evening. They allowed me to start the show. Um, I don't know what's wrong with them, y'all. Because I will get in trouble if I'm left to my own design. I will get in trouble. But Rod will be joining us shortly here. He's on special assignment as well as the general continues to be on special assignment. This is his season for his special assignment, so it's going to play out that way. But anyway, we're going to jump right into it. You are tuned in to Let's Talk Nation, where your IQ is guaranteed to increase anywhere from 2 points to 2,000 points. And I'll make sure, because I have the gift of gab. But I want to start out by talking about something that's close to home. And it really was problematic for me. I saw this over the weekend, and it's concerning the city of Apopka. And the thing about the city of Apopka is I did call it my second home in Central Florida. At one time, I love the feel and the people of Apopka. Very, very down to earth, very friendly folks. And you know, the thing for me was the fact that that it has always been a place where everyone can feel at home. I mean, that's just the feel of Apopka. And it's always been that way. It's small town feel, good feel. And it has a long history of being that. I remember back when I was in high school, a lot of my friends worked after school jobs over there, packing up roses and ferns and things like that. So Apopka has always been central to the life of many people in Central Florida. Apopka has always been that destination. But I saw something last week where they got this guy, Commissioner Nick Nestor. And according to this article, or well, according to this video, he is a undesirable, underhanded person. And this addresses this, and I'll let this other commissioner tell you about what he's done in her own words. Now I'm trying to pull the video up because it's important for us to understand that there's a need for civility and understanding, regardless of what we serve in the community. And this guy does not seem to recognize the need to do that. And unfortunately, he has taken to where he has tried to get this young lady kicked off the commission by filing lawsuits and everything. But I'll let her tell you in her own words. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. I'm gonna share this. Go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and here we go.
As I raise today to address a very serious matter that the residents of the city deserve to be aware of. In 2025, the McLeod law firm filed a lawsuit against me alleging residency issues. On March 2nd, 2026, the judge granted my motion to dismiss. Less than 24 hours later, the lawsuit was refiled. And at this time, the city was added as a defendant. Why am I bringing this to council and to the public? For two reasons: transparency and awareness. What has unfolded appeared to be a coordinated effort to undermine the will of the voters, an effort that I believe that has been led and assisted by a sitting commissioner, Nick Nestor. On January 22nd, 2024, emails were exchanged from the address nesta22@gmail.com, assisting in drafting what was described as a final complaint. In one of those emails, the messages read, "See attached notes" within the PDF. Please do not share this document with anyone or tell anyone that I assisted in the efforts.
Now, for me, that's a big problem because it speaks to the understanding that this is an ethical conduct problem for this young man. I don't know him. Okay, I've never met him, but I do have friends like my friend Kevin here who just commented, and I have friends in Apopka that still live over there and run businesses and all that kind of stuff. So I talk to Apopka people every day, to tell you the truth, and it should be concerning to the residents that you have a commissioner that is actively trying to unseat another commissioner and knows that what he's doing is unethical. How do you know it's unethical? Because if it wasn't unethical, he wouldn't say, "Don't associate my name with it." See, and that's a problem. Now, this guy, is he serving himself or is he serving the people that selected him to serve them? Because you got to ask that question. That's an honest question to ask. And this is so indicative of many Central Florida politicians. They are self-serving and they're small-minded, many of them. And the issue needs to be focus on what the people elected you to do, not with these petty personality fights and things like that. All he got is one vote, just like everybody else on that council. Why are you picking a fight with a fellow commissioner when you should be finding every opportunity, every chance to work together, build a consensus on behalf of the people? That's what we elect y'all for. This is why we elect people. We want you to work together. But many of them bring their personality and life issues into office with them. Okay. And I'll tell you this. I told people this about on the Orlando commissioner. I told them, I said, if this person cannot manage your life, what in the world makes you think that they're going to be able, if they can't manage their life, how can they help you manage yours? And that's what it's about. Your leaders are there to help you get the things for your life, the amenities and things in your community that you need that alone you can't get. So they need to have their ducks in a row. See, they need to have their personal life in order so that they can help you. If they're busy going to jail, going to rehab, being caught up in scandals and public drunkenness and drug use and all of those things that have nothing to do with leadership, they're not going to be able to serve you. They are going to be serving whatever issue they got to deal with, because it's certainly going to get in the way. And because of that, you, the public, you now get underserved. You don't get the representation that you voted for because the person is incapable of managing their life. And now that interferes with what they can do for you. And then think of this, and this is another point I made. When people are see who represents you, you become a reflection of that community and how that community is viewed. So with this man being this small-minded and petty, how can people in Apopka even vote for him? Why are you out here sitting and talking against another sitting commissioner instead of finding a way, as any reasonable adult would, to at least work together and find common ground and seek common goal? That's what you're there for. That's what you're elected for, not to get somebody out of the seat because you have somebody in the background that may not like them, and they're telling you this person is bad for the community, and you really don't know. You know, this guy also challenged this lady's livelihood. Why would you go after somebody's job that has nothing to do with them being elected? Why would you file a false complaint? This is ignorance. This is absolute ignorance. And this Apopka, let me say this. This tells y'all who this man's character is. Point blank, bottom line. He is untrustworthy. Okay. It's like this. A friend of mine that, matter of fact, he's from Apopka. He told me this. We had a mutual friend, and the friend was cheating on his wife. And he said, I don't want to do business with him anymore. I said, why? He said, because he cheats on his wife. And I said, well, what that's got to do with it? And he made a valid point. He said, if he cheats on the person that he snores face to face with every night and has professed his undying love for them and fidelity to them, if he cheats on them, what would he do for me? And I said, that makes absolute sense. And you have to understand, when people show you how they operate, don't pretend that they're not operating that way. This guy is over here going against and trying to undermine an elected, not chosen, an elected person in office, just like he was elected. Okay. Now, if he manages to do that, what else can he manage to do? This is unethical. And as Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. Trust your first instinct about a person. This guy is trouble. And y'all think, oh, Kilsheimer was an idiot. This guy is probably, if he goes further in Apopka, he's probably going to be more of a problem. And it's crazy to watch this. See, I've been around Apopka since Mayor Lamb was still living. And I forgot the guy's name. I didn't like him. I can't think. Richard something. It's a long story behind that. But y'all know I shoot from the hip. If I don't like you, I tell you to your face and keep it moving. But Richard Anderson, that was it. I was trying to think of his name. Real butthole. I mean, real character. You have to understand some of the things that went on while he was administrating for the city of Apopka. But you know, I've watched Apopka under siege under Kilsheimer, and it wasn't pretty. A lot of things went wrong. A lot of underhanded backroom deals went on, and people continue to try to justify it. And you can't do that. You have to look at the collective of the leadership there and understand that it's about the people. It is not about the person that's in office. No, not one person on that city council should be bringing their personal likes or dislike in there and conducting business on behalf of the people of Apopka. That's not what leaders do. Okay? Leaders find a way to lead. And I can tell you, I've been around hundreds of leaders. I've been a leader since I was 19 years old. And one of the things is the people around you need to be able to count on you. They need to be able to count on you to be ethical and have their best interests in mind when you are leading them, because they are trusting you. They're saying, I can follow you. And because I trust your leadership, your decision-making, and your ethical framework. People don't get this about elected leaders. And it's not just elected leaders. It's all leadership. It's all from pastors to elected officials. You need to have a ethical framework that guides you. You can't just go out there and do stupid stuff, because in essence, it's destabilizing. Now, imagine if you have 3 more people on Apopka City panel that acts like this guy. Nothing would get done. Nothing over there would get done. And you would have more problems. You'd have people who are doing backdoor deals, backroom conspiracies, and all of this kind of thing, because those people will only serve themselves. They're not interested in serving anybody. And to tell you the truth, it's been some good leadership in Apopka. Okay. Alexander Smith has been a good leader. Okay. Brian Nelson has been a very good leader. And let me tell you, because I'm a huge Brian Nelson fan, and you know, it's people that try to detract from him, but they don't understand. One of the things is about Brian Nelson is a servant leader in a lot of ways. And he hasn't ran around and pumped his chest and said all of these crazy things and tell people I did this, and he's not built that way. We're from the same generation. We're not built that way. We don't need to pontificate and posture, because we're leaders. Our work and our resume speaks for us. Now, that doesn't mean that we should not be recognized. What it means is that it's bigger than just us. Yeah, you know, if I'm in charge and stuff, what I want you to see is that I'm going to do the right thing, and that you can trust me and you can follow my leadership. Okay. Right now, Alexander Smith, Diane Vasquez, and Mayor Nelson, okay, are the key people on Apopka City Council that you can trust to lead with integrity. Okay. The young lady that just came in, she hasn't had a chance to really lead, because she's been fighting foolishness this whole time. I mean, imagine getting elected. The people said, we want you to represent us. And then you get in there and you got an idea, you fresh face, you want to come in there and you want to work with the people who are already there. You recognize that this is a team effort, not a me effort. And then you have that one little, Doc don't like to cuss, that one little butt. Okay, I don't know if he's got small man syndrome or whatever else, but something about this guy says that he doesn't get enough attention. Maybe he needs a hug. Maybe y'all need to have a hug fest over there for him, or intervention or something. But you know, to underhandedly attack somebody before they've even been given a chance to show what they bring to the table, that's childish. That is a childish man. Okay. And, you know, it might just be our different generations, but, you know, men don't behave that way. True men don't behave that way. We judge you on your merits. We allow you to sit there and get in place and understand that, hey, okay, I'm gonna, until it's proven otherwise, I'm gonna trust that you can lead. Okay, and once we do that, we allow them the chance to lead. Now, once they show that they can lead, then we continue to work with them. But if they can't lead, then we need to interrupt and redirect them and say, hey, listen, this isn't the best way to do this. And I wouldn't do it with just myself. This would be something that we as a team, because that's what the council is. It's a team. Okay. It's a team means that it's not about one person's agenda. It means that we together represent all of the people in Apopka. And we represent their hopes, dreams, and desires as a community, not petty squabbles and things like that. But, you know, I can tell you this, a leadership team is only as strong as that weakest link. And really, people need to think about who they are electing. It has consequences. It has real consequences. And one incompetent and or unethical leader can knock everybody down. And that would hurt. So we got Brother Love coming on in here.
Doc.
Hey, what's up? I'm in here about the Apopka situation, and I guess I done turned it into a masterclass, Rob.
So, masterclass?
Yeah. So, you know, and I'm explaining to our audience that, you know, there's something to be said about being an ethical leader. You can't just come in and all you producing is chaos. That's not what people elected you for. You know? And
so you Doc, so you must have presented the Commissioner Anderson's her commission meeting video.
Yeah. I showed that at the start, and I just cut it off. I just went to the part where she reads the letter that he sent and was telling the people not to let anybody know that he was a part of that. And I told them that right there should tell you everything you need to know about this man. The fact that he recognized that this is underhanded and unethical should tell you this is the kind of person I am. This is not a one-off. This is who this person is. And they will continue to,
you know, it's better for people to know. Yeah, it's better for people to know now than until a person gets in office. But, you know, I guess the other important piece, man, that this really resonates with me is when you look at Mayor Brian Nelson. You know, man, you're talking about a person, man, who has strong ethics. You're talking about a person, man.
I touched on that, and I explained to the audience, look, me and Brian, we were basically from the same generation, and our thing is, we don't run around in your face talk about what we did for you. That's not how we operate. And I've known Mayor Nelson a long time, and I know him to be a very conscientious and ethical person. And he bleeds Apopka blue. Okay, this man has long advocated for Apopka. This ain't just start. Okay, and sometimes because people haven't been there, they don't know. All they can see is from their limited view. They don't know the longitudinal stuff that has went on. Okay, serving that community. Okay, helping with the leaders before he was elected.
And you're right, and Doc, you're right when you say you're giving a master's class on it, and I'm not gonna interrupt you much more because I mean you're navigating this thing, and when you're saying the master's class, here's a guy who, as you mentioned, he doesn't go around, man, and say, I did this and I did that for other people. It's almost like, and I'm not going to mention, I will mention Bishop McCray, man, when you talk about putting on a master's class from a teaching perspective, man, when he went down the road of John 21, and you and I had this conversation, you know, when Jesus asked Peter, or not asked, but he told Peter, he asked Peter, do you love me? And Peter said yes. And then, you know, and Doc, you know the rest of the story, but he asked him three times. The third time, Peter kind of got frustrated. He was frustrated. But I'm gonna go to the point, and then I'm gonna pass it back to you, Doc. And the point was, and you understand this because I've listened to you teach as well. But all of it was when the ask was, do you love me 3 times? It's not in the words, it's in the deeds. And what I'm saying is Mayor Nelson has has executed the deeds for the constituents of the city of Apopka when you're talking
and that's
about
what
holding down taxes.
That's what the people of Apopka need to look at. Has Mayor Nelson loved us? And unequivocally, yes. It's shown in the way that he has represented the city of Apopka, that he has advocated for the city of Apopka, that he has went to bats. I remember we had the meeting when all those people were getting shot over there in South Apopka and stuff. Now, and I said, and I watched Mayor Nelson, and Mayor Nelson was very disturbed by what was going on.
And he wasn't the mayor at the time. He was a county commissioner at the time.
Exactly. And he was like, Doc, I need to get with you, and we can talk about some things that we can, maybe some programs or something to, to deal with the trauma. And
those are the conversations, Doc. Those are the conversations that
and people don't know that. Now, he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't the mayor then. Okay, but we all stood out there and we had this conversation about how do we help our community.
He wasn't the mayor at the time,
and credit. I ain't heard not nobody stand up there that day talk about, well, I'll do this and I'll get credit for it. That wasn't even in the conversation. It was concerned about the safety and security of those people.
You're right. And Doc, you were one of the main people.
And that's when Kilsheimer was mayor.
And you were one of the main people, Doc, when Mayor Nelson said, we got to do something about it. And what he did was he got on the phone, man, and he called the different individuals from the community. And subsequently, you had the first Apopka Youth Violence Task Force. And that task force, you had Dr. Randy Nelson, you had Attorney Greg Jackson, who was involved. You had community members that was part of the task force. But the beautiful thing about this was Mayor Nelson said, hey, we got to address the killings that are taking place. We got to address the crime. But hey, guys, when you address crime, you got to address it from a holistic perspective. You got to create jobs. You got to look at housing. And man, that Youth Violence Task Force didn't look at just crime issues. Greg did a master's class on community redevelopment with the CRA at the time. The state was looking at eliminating CRAs statewide. You had Dr. Nelson, who talked about community engagement, law enforcement relationships. You had conversations about workforce development, of which Mayor Nelson then coordinated.
As a matter of fact, Dr. Nelson engaged Apopka before he even engaged Orlando.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Hey, before the first Orange County Task Force ever took place, you could look at the recommendations from the Apopka Youth Violence Task Force, and that was a blueprint.
Exactly. So, and let me say this to the people. I want y'all to lean into this and hear this, okay? The difference between a leader and a pretender, a leader will always show up with the solution to the problem that they're addressing. See, when y'all see them few little citizens that's always running up there to the podium at the city council meeting, and all they do is this, that. And they never once come up and says, here's a plan that we've worked out that will address
here's a viable solution. Yeah.
Exactly. See, what you know me some years now. Do I ever talk crap about something and don't have a plan?
You're right.
Every time I address an issue and I talk about it, trust me, people, I have a plan. Okay, I know how to address it because I'm not gonna. The first thing I'm gonna do is say, why is this a problem? I need to do a triage on understanding what's the causation of this problem. It's not. It don't just happen out of thin air. There is a reason that things go on, and we have to start problem solving from that point of view. Why is this a problem? Okay, this is a problem because of this. So what are some solutions we can put into play? And then you work those out and say, hey, we got this problem. Here are some of the ideas and solutions I think would address this.
Solutions oriented. You're right. You're absolutely right,
exactly.
Doc.
Because
Doc, what I see though, what I see is man, an environment that's conducive for everybody to come to the table, and the fact that we don't all have to be singing kumbaya, because what you and the general always talking about iron sharpening iron. So that means we don't have to always agree, but if we're gonna be disagreeable, let's be able to come to the table and debate those issues and come up with some viable solutions. And that's what Mayor Nelson has been able to do.
Exactly. And man, listen, yeah, he's better than me. Because see, if you come up there to the podium complaining, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna deputize you right now. That's your problem. Come back next week with a solution.
Give me your plan. Yeah.
And every time you come up there, did you create the plan? Where's the plan?
But Doc, as you well know, and I mean, we
still talking about this, but you haven't presented a plan. Because one thing I know, the loudest mouth have the emptiest minds many times. They don't have a clue.
You're calling it out. You're calling it out.
They don't have a clue how to solve the problems because they don't even understand. A lot of it is just reactionary, emotional immaturity. Okay, they don't know how to problem solve, so everything is a problem, and all they've ever did was complain about problems. You know,
man,
and I always tell you that story about them cussing me out over there in Carter Street.
I remember you told me. About that.
And they told me I didn't know because I hadn't lived over there. I said, you know what? You're right. I don't deal with mold in my house. I don't deal with vermin in my house. So they told me basically shut the F up. And guess what? Doc ain't been back over there since. And you know what? Doc don't care. Because when I cared, it was not accepted. So
Doc, I'm not gonna let you off the hook like that, because the Doc that I know, he does care. But here's yeah. I'm gonna call you out on the Doc that I know does care. The Doc that I know will call you out. The Doc that I know will tell you straight up what's on his mind. But and the reason why I say this, Doc, is I say this because I don't want, if Commissioner Anderson were to look up and say, you know what, I'm tired of that, and walk away, Doc. The people, the constituents of the city of Pop could be the ones that would be hurt. When you look at what she's been able to do
we always talk about that. I want to frame. Let me reframe my don't care. You're right, because when I say what I don't care is I'm no longer going to approach the problem through those people. You see what I'm saying? Because I can make an impact on an individual level as well. And I have done
it. And you've done that. But Doc, here's something that we have to figure out. How do we, I don't know if it's charisma, I don't know what it is, but and I hate to do this, but I am gonna do it. Man, some of the individuals that have stepped forward, that have stepped out, that are making it easier for more people to step up and step out. Just for example, Miss Beverly Benson, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right, Weinsberg. Yeah, when you see individuals like that are, you know, basically co-signing these kind of conversations, that is what's helping more people come out in the fold, man. I mean, you have folk that go up, man, and they curse people out, they do all kind of things, and you get people that shy away from that. But I think now is not the time to shy away. It's the time to stand up for what's right. You don't have to address that nonsense, but you have to be willing to step up. With Commissioner Anderson and all that nonsense that has been taking place, I'm glad she came out and said, here are the receipts. Know who you're supporting, but know what you got representing there. But I say all that to say, again, I'm going to come back full circle, because Mayor Nelson is an individual that we're having a conversation about. You know, sometimes we could take things for granted, but some of the things that we need to look at is, man, this guy has continued to press to keep taxes low. Look at the conversation that's taking place at the state level when you're looking at property tax reform. Man, Nelson he's already been in the gap from a municipality standpoint, stepping in the gap, saying, "Hey, for taxpayers of the city of Apopka, I got to stand in the gap and hold those taxes down." Yeah, individuals are talking about some of the things that are taking place. Doc, one of the things that you and I never care for is we don't care for any level of tax to be raised upon us. But one of the things that's a reality that we all got to figure out is that Apopka, when I moved here, was a bedroom community of about 30,000. Now
Yeah.
we're at 65,000.
Yeah.
The demands are growing. Public safety, when we talk about law enforcement, when we talk about fire, we've done and I'm gonna say we, I'm not gonna put any credit on us. I'm gonna say that city commission under the leadership of Mayor and leaders, they've been able to keep pace. And those are some of the things, man, that we got to look at. So, Doc, I don't know, and I interrupted your math, but sometimes you got to come out and lay those receipts out.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're gonna move on to the next subject. And I tell you this, I've been following this all weekend. This past week, they buried Reverend Jesse Jackson. And of course, Obama showed up, the Clintons showed up, President Biden showed up, and Kamala Harris showed up. And people were upset because they said that they turned his funeral into a political event. My counter to that would be, when has Jesse Jackson not ever been political? Mm-hmm. He's been political.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
His whole career.
And Doc, specifically, you're talking about what his son got up and spoke about, right?
Well, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Him saying that
you're talking about somebody who's grieving first. Let's
right. Yeah, well, that's grieving, but also who is carrying, I think, somewhat animosity towards that group, because he wasn't pardoned under Obama for when he was in federal prison. Now, the crazy thing about that is all of that fraud that he went to prison for took place way before Obama got into office. And Obama had nothing to do with it. Okay? Yeah. Obama didn't pursue those charges. Obama's Justice Department didn't pursue those charges. He was already on his way to being sentenced. He pled guilty. Mm-hmm. He pled guilty for taking $750,000 from his
what presidency,
campaign.
Doc? I remember that, but what presidency was that under? Was it Clinton?
That was Bush.
Okay.
That was Bush before Obama. Oh, and George W. was there too. But it's very telling when you come out and say you didn't know my father, but their father interacted with every one of those people up there. Mm-hmm. Okay, and his daddy wasn't without controversy. You remember how he got caught on the mic
with the
Hymantown remark, and then he got caught again disparaging Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are things in his past that are questionable. There's a lot of question about his involvement in King's assassination, and as much as they try to cover it up, it has persisted over the years. And sometimes where there's smoke, there is actual fire.
And so, Doc, the gist of it, man. I mean, from what I was able to capture, and I apologize, I didn't follow it in its entirety, but I do see where there's a degree of criticism where he said none of those three presidents actually knew his father. And so, Doc, some of that I look at the pain. You're talking about a person that's grieving, but then the other part of it is, just as you said, here's an individual that he didn't get pardoned under any of those presidents that were there, correct? Yeah. And
but here's the thing. They could have all stayed away. They didn't have to come.
You're right.
They did not have to come.
But when you look at Jesse Jackson's advocacy, you cannot say his advocacy was devoid of politics. It revolved around the advocacy for rights, civil rights.
Exactly. And so that's political. Civil rights is political. It's not spiritual. It's political. Yeah. So he had to play politics. He was a politician in every sense of the word, more so than a preacher. You ever seen him preach?
Reverend Jesse Jackson? You know what, Doc? I probably saw him, but then saw him like you when he was in the pulpit, but it was preaching from an advocacy standpoint about something regarded or related to.
It was grievance politics. That's all I've ever heard him talk about, grievance politics, which is why personally for me, he and Al Sharpton have always been suspect, because I see them as profiting off of grievance. Okay. And the interesting thing is about, do you know how Al Sharpton even got in the civil rights movement? You know why?
How so?
James Brown.
Educate me.
Al Sharpton, when he was a young man, a teenager, was a roadie for James Brown. And James Brown was very central to the civil rights movement.
Wait. When you say was a roadie, come on, define that for me.
A roadie is carry the set up the equipment.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you meant.
And so through that association, he got access to Dr. King now and Abernathy and all of these people. That's how he got into that, through James being associated with James Brown, because James Brown, a lot of people don't know this, but James Brown funded a lot of civil rights actions during the 60s and the early 70s. A lot of them. Okay. And he met regularly with King. And so that's how Al Sharpton got in that hemisphere, and went on to, went theology and stuff. And I want to say, I want to say Dr. Joseph Lowry. Remember him?
Yeah.
I think he kind of took Al Sharpton. One of those pastors took him under their wings and convinced him
Lowry was Lowry out of Georgia, or was he out of Philly?
I think somewhere up north. I'm not. I have to look. It's been years since I went through that kind of material. But it's funny. We're looking at the twilight of an era. Really, in addressing Jesse Jackson's passing. Them freedom riders, that's why I be looking at people talking about my mama marched with Dr. King. Boy, your mama 50. She ain't marched with no Dr. King. How you telling that lie? Your grandmama either. Your grandma my age. I wasn't marching with no Dr. King. I remember when Dr. King was killed, because I was 7 years old. But I can't say I marched with him. And a matter of fact, this past week was the anniversary of the date that Dr. King spoke in Orlando. I think it was on Thursday. This past Thursday was the anniversary. His one and only trip. He came here, and it used to be what was called Tinker Field. I don't know if you've been here that long.
Right behind Campbell World Stadium.
And that used to be the winter home of the Minnesota Twins. And
Doc, you got some history, man.
Yeah. So when I was a boy, they would give, like the elementary school, they give us tickets and stuff like that. So me and my uncle, that was a short walk from my grandmother's house right there to Tinker Field. So we go all the time. When we get tickets, we go out there and watch the baseball. Now we had to sit off to the side. That tell you, see, I ain't that young. Okay.
Hey Doc, so you didn't give the reason why you had to sit off to the side, but I know and understand the reason why you.
What I'm saying. Yeah. I had somebody tell me, because I was explaining about when I was a little boy. I vividly remember having to sit in the balcony at the Beecham Theater downtown because that's where black folks sat. And even as a little boy on the bus with my mom standing behind that line. See, people love to think that it was so long ago, but it's been within my lifetime, huh?
But let me ask you this, and I'm going to. One of the first things I'm going to say, man, is when I first moved to Central Florida, I lived a couple of places in Orlando. I will tell you, my wife, my father-in-law, they are Popkins. Even though my father-in-law originally Alabama, but he moved here as a kid.
Yeah.
And so they're deeply entrenched with Apopka. They used to live off of I think it was Zellwood or Plymouth. Used to live on a dirt road. So when I say my wife and her side of the family, man, they're deeply entrenched. And Doc, you led off with this when we were talking about Mayor Nelson. And I don't like to go here too much, but when Mayor Nelson engaged, when Apopka had about 6 or 7 killings in the span of 8 days. One of those that were killed was my wife's first cousin. And when we talk about relatives and relationships, this was a cousin that my wife and her family, they would see each other because, in Apopka, man, 13th Street and thereon, and their grandmother house, and they always had food. They were cooking. A family that always celebrated no matter what. Just after church on Sunday, getting together. So this is a cousin that was a tight, close cousin, and I met him when I was when I met my wife and all of that. And so one of those 7 killings that took place when Mayor Nelson stepped up, it hit home for me and my family. Yeah. And I'd already known Mayor Nelson at the time when he was serving in the House. I got to know him better when he was a county commissioner. And so I say that, from a leadership standpoint, but I say that to say this to you. We're having a conversation about Jesse Jackson. We've added Al Sharpton to the conversation. Doc, I can leave it to you, and you can talk about legacy of leaders, but I'm gonna bring it all the way home, man. White, black, wherever direction you want to go, but Doc, there's a void that's getting wider out there, and I'm just wondering, man, what is on your mind? How do we look at eventually filling that void from a leadership perspective? And I will say this before I pass it to you, Doc. It's not going to be one person that communities look to when we want to look at leadership. It's going to be a collective of individuals. But you know how we often had the conversation about we stand on the shoulders of giants. Where are these other to-be giants? Where are they? When are we going to be able to lift them up? And I pass the baton, Doc.
Well, one of the big things for me personally, how I look at it is we've got to talk about the ethics of America. And there's no way around it because we're finding people less ethical, less community focused, less family focused. Okay.
And Doc, you could back
families,
up. You could back up what you're saying, and see that's that
yeah,
Dr. Nelson teaching that's coming out of me. You can back up everything you're saying based on empirical data.
empirical data. It's there, and it's been there. This trend. This is right now we're on a 20-year longitudinal trend of decline in ethical behavior. We're seeing that. We're seeing. There used to be shock value. There's no shock value anymore.
Yeah.
You know that. Remember they used to call them shock jocks on the radio.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Because they would get on there and say outlandish things that nobody thought people should or would say. But now everybody. But now everybody's on social media and they shock jock all day. They cuss each other out. There's no civility. There's no compromise, and a lot of it is not healthy mentally long term. This is why we're seeing kids killing themselves, because they are dealing with mental interactions that they are not built to handle.
And Doc, that's why you got to be able to learn how to turn it off, though.
But you can't. Kids at that age, Rod, they don't have the capacity to synthesize information as it comes in. This is why they have parents. Okay,
but that's why you have
they don't understand. They don't understand the gravity
of yeah. But you got a lot of what is it, Doc? Because you and I have had conversation. But you got a lot of federal testimony right now dealing with social media platforms, and these folk who not only created these social media platforms, they're not even allowing their own kids to get engaged in this because they know how harmful it is.
Exactly, and that should be a warning sign to everybody else. I want your kid on there, but mine can't get on there.
You're right. Hey, Doc, we have about 8 minutes left. Here's a topic that you were having a conversation with me on, and I want us to hit it because everybody's been asking us about this. But the Texas Democratic primary that just took place, I don't remember the other candidate's name, but it's is it Talrico or something?
Talarico, James Talarico.
And it was Jasmine Crockett.
So so we're going to talk about the Democratic Circular Firing Squad. That's what I call it.
So why do you say that, Doc?
Because Democrats so stupid that all we do is circle each other and shoot each other. We like the game that couldn't shoot straight. We always got to shoot. We will snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
So Doc, let me give you, so Doc, I'm gonna be real succinct, and I'm gonna just tell you in my observations what I believe I saw. And what I believe I saw, man, is Representative Crockett, man, she, you know how they say you start believing your own headlines?
Yeah.
Doc, in me seeing her in her conversation, it was always about her, and I didn't hear what she was saying to her constituents that she was going to do for them.
You said that, and I gave you pushback on that. Remember?
You did.
You said that, and so let me give everybody the pushback I gave you. Here's the thing: James Talarico won because he was the better candidate. He was the better candidate for that particular race.
And let me correct.
They have very different styles.
One of them,
but his message was able to resonate beyond racial groups and grievances. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was what appealed. He gave something that is desperately missed now in politics. So people gravitated toward that. Not to knock Jasmine Crockett. There's a time to be a fighter, then there's a time to be a diplomat. Right now, she fought a fighter style. It's like a southpaw. Okay, fighting a southpaw. You can't fight them the same way you fight a regular fighter.
You got to learn that. Yeah.
And she went in there with a regular fight. She was fighting a southpaw, and she didn't understand that.
So Doc, you gave me your pushback, but here's the one thing that I also said to you, and I respect your pushback too. Let me say that first and foremost. But the other thing that I said to you was simply this: she started watching those clicks, and the funny thing is, a majority of those clicks don't vote. And the majority of those clicks probably came outside of Texas that couldn't vote in Texas.
And I was talking to one of my Army buddies, Sergeant David Dewberry today, and he was telling me about his niece. His niece or his cousin is running for office in Tallahassee, and she out there in the hood at the liquor store trying to get votes. I said, that's a losing strategy. I said, she should be looking at who is registered to vote and approaching them. I said, the majority of those people standing out there, you're going to know historically they are not going to vote, and many of them can't vote. Don't see, we want to hope for stuff instead of dealing with the reality of stuff a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a politician, you can't hope for something. You need to know. When Greg got out there and ran, I did the analytics, and we got all the super voters. Okay, we knew where those voters were, what they almost to the point what they ate every night. Okay, you have to understand who it is that you're gonna reach out to. Okay, now, and the other factor that didn't play in our favor was big money coming in. The big money came into the race, and that was the difference. It wasn't they outworked us, they outspent us.
Well, Doc, here's something I'm gonna need your help on, man. And you and I, when I tell you I love you, brother, I love you because you and I don't know how long we've been rocking with one another, man. And I tell people think I be joking. I said, me and Doc got so tight that Doc started calling me up 10 o'clock at night and start a conversation. He know that's not gonna end till 12 o'clock. But so I say that so that people can frame up. You my brother. But I say this, I need your help because the general, Attorney Greg Jackson, hey man, Greg is I think people do realize Greg is a phenomenal person, man. And he's killing it over at Dan Newland. And when I say he's killing it, he's doing his thing. If you have any personal attorney issues that you need, Greg is the man for you. But here's the one thing that I continue to see with Attorney Greg Jackson that I just hope he always got to do, and he will do what's best for him and his family. But man, can you imagine an Attorney Greg Jackson representing constituents? Man, yes. Hey, and so
listen, he and I,
you got to help me. You got to help me because
me and him have had that conversation.
I hate that we got down to 2 minutes before we got to get up now.
Me and Greg was friends before me and you was friends.
Correct. Correct. So just say you're gonna help me.
I love Greg. His confidence, his skills. The boy is a doggone genius. I thought
he's a genius. Oh, absolutely.
And I love that because it's good when like I can talk to you. And I can talk to him, and we intellectuals, and we thinking way beyond what most people think about.
Hey,
so
Doc,
I can ask y'all questions that the average person be like, "What? I don't even understand that."
I like the way Greg will frame stuff for us. Greg will be direct, and if he feel like, "Hey, let me go this way with Brother Love right now," because if I come directly, he gonna get defense. Man, Greg is a genius, man, and I just hope at some point in time, constituents get the benefit from him in elected office.
Well, I know that, but I also understand where he is in his career and what he wants to accomplish. And so, what I will say is that a lot of people don't know this, but early in his career was spent very much being a public servant. A lot of people don't know that. Here's what a lot of other people don't know. Here's what a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that Doc Polite is the executive producer of this show, and executive producers oftentimes tell the people who own the show when it's time to sign off for the show.
You good at everything you do. But
yeah,
you see the clock now. Hey, Doc Polite, man. Hey, brother. I love, Attorney Jackson. I think he might be off for special assignment next week, and that he's victorious. But Doc, man, I appreciate how you holding it down, how you laid it out, and brother, we're just gonna keep on rocking, man. So you don't have to go home tonight, brother.
But I got to get out of here.
Hey, Doc, I'll check you out, brother. Hey, man, thank you, Doc. Hey, for those of you who listen to Let's Talk Nation, tune in next Monday, and we're gonna give you a little bit more of what you're looking for.